Welcome to Elementis Way. My name is Prem Sangeet, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Olivia Arezzolo, and she's Australian leading expert. She's also known as a sleep queen, and Olivia helps high performers use sleep as a strategy for mental clarity, sustained energy, and peak performance. She's a trusted keynote speaker, and she partnered with the global brands such as IKEA, Samsung, Vestin, Audible, and Toyota. She has delivered over 300 keynotes and retreats worldwide. Her international bestseller, Bear, Lion, and Wolf, published in 10 countries, has established her as a global leading voice in the sleep science and wellness. And her media campaign reached over 70 million people with measurable results and a strong digital impact. She's also a chief editor-in-chief for Women's Fitness, where she empowers over 200,000 women to live, move, and thrive. Olivia, such a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the Elementis Way.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to dive into everything sleep, wellness, longevity, all of the beautiful things.
Yeah, so Elementis is all about longevity. And what would you say, how does sleep impact longevity?
Okay, so when you're thinking about longevity, you need to think, what are the illnesses that we are currently dying from? In Australia, and I'm sure this is not dissimilar to worldwide, in Australia, the two leading causes of death are dementia and cardiovascular disease. Now, there was a research paper which found studying over 475,000 individuals, so a large-scale study, that's long-term sleeping 6 hours increased your risk of having a heart attack by 48%. When you are long-term sleeping 6 hours. Now, remember, this was not a small study, 475,000 people.
What happens to hormonal, cognitive, and emotional systems in the body then?
We'll get to that, but I need to share what happens about dementia, because dementia is the number two leading cause of death, right? And when you are sleeping 6 hours consistently in midlife, your risk of experiencing dementia in later life increases by 30%. Okay, so, you're wanting to be all around longevity, and it is very, very clear that sleep is not just important, but imperative. And I think a lot of us like to think, what does it matter? Just a few nights of, I'll catch up on sleep later. I just need to get through my tasks today. I'm in a flow state, staying up, it's 11 p.m. and your creative ideas are bouncing. Trust me, because I get in this state too. It's not only long-term sleep deprivation which leads to these illnesses, even just after one night of sleeping 4 to 6 hours, which I'm sure many of your community do, many founders do, and I even do it sometimes, the sleep queen, your inflammation, as indicated by biomarkers, interleukin-6 and reactive C protein, they will increase up to 40% after just one night of insufficient sleep. Right? Why is inflammation a problem? When your body is inflamed, it leads to the host of other illnesses. This is what stiffens the arteries. This is why cardiovascular disease and short sleep have such a strong correlation. It also alters the brain's ability to clean itself. Sleep, that is when the brain's clearance of beta-amyloid, a neurotoxin, that occurs because the brain doesn't have a lymphatic system like the other organs, right? It has a glymphatic system, and only during the night, during sleep, do those channels open in that glymphatic system, and can we essentially wash away the neurotoxin, which is beta-amyloid. Now, especially if you are concerned with cognitive performance and you're looking to master cognitive performance, it's really, really important to understand that sleep is your best friend in this process. You know, when you are sleeping insufficiently, you will have a buildup of beta-amyloid, which long term, as we've just learnt, contributes to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. But even after just one night of insufficient sleep, beta-amyloid can increase by up to 30%.
So just one night of irregular sleep, you get
after insufficient sleep, which is going to contribute to brain fog, memory loss, impaired mental clarity. That's going to mean you're getting up the next day trying to lead a team or trying to respond to an email, and you are inefficient and effective. Productivity can decline by up to 29% when you are having insufficient sleep versus not.
What happens then to emotional regulation, to amygdala and those type of parts of the brain?
Yeah, so, you know, mental health, this is something that I'm extremely passionate about. I've had a very close journey with mental health. And to understand that long-term insomniacs, or those who aren't sleeping enough, they are 10 times more likely to have depression and 17 times more likely to have an anxiety disorder. That's long-term. But even after just one night of insufficient sleep, cortisol, our primary stress hormone that makes us feel anxious, wired, unable to switch off, that can increase by up to 37%. The amygdala, which detects fear and alerts us to danger, reactivity of the amygdala can increase by 60% after just one night of insufficient sleep. And so you feel restless, you feel anxious, you feel jittery. Every little thing becomes a problem. Imagine if you're trying to lead a team. Imagine if your coworker has a big problem that they need your support with, and you're in this very catastrophic state. Right?
Okay, and how about women's health? How does this sleep impacts women's health on their menstruation, fertility, menopause, and then hormonal disbalance?
Okay, so, you know, women, 50% of the global population. When it comes to longevity and sleep for women, absolutely critical. But it's really, really important for women to recognize this isn't just for their wellness, but also for their children and their fertility opportunities, right? When you are sleeping less than 7 hours, your fertility can drop by up to 25%. Largely because of this inflammation and heightened cortisol and altered endocrine function, which is a result of lack of sleep. When it comes to women and their menstrual cycles, a lot of girls say to me, you know, sometimes I just cannot sleep properly. What's going on? Do I need more sleep when I'm menstruating because I'm always exhausted? And this is something really, really important to understand, that because of the altered hormones during menstruation and the late luteal phase, it's not that you need less sleep, you experience less efficient sleep. And so what happens is you experience more lighter sleep and it's more likely to be broken. Now that's because your estrogen levels, massive decline. What does that do? It destabilizes body temperature. Body temperature needs to be stable and cool in order to produce melatonin, our key sleepiness hormone. Progesterone. Progesterone is critical for GABA production. GABA is our calming hormone, right? But when we are in our late luteal phase and menstrual phase, progesterone is at an all-time low. And so this is why it leads to greater anxiety, greater mental rumination, greater stress, right? And so it's not that we need less sleep as we're going through these phases. It's just that when we're trying to get less sleep, when we're trying to sleep, we are struggling, we are feeling way more anxious, we are unable to return to sleep when we wake up. And don't even get started on perimenopause. You know, 91% of perimenopausal women are struggling with sleep every single night. And it's just the impact of menstruation amplified. Less progesterone, less estrogen.
So what we can then do to support our sleep? Is this something around the environment? I know that there's probably a 75% impact we have on sleep is just alone by the environment, and 25 is probably epigenetics. And so how does one optimize the rooms? I know you've been working with a lot of hotels as well in hospitality industry. How does one optimize the environment for sleep?
Okay, so when it comes to creating a circadian sleep sanctuary, there are a few fundamentals that you need to get right. This is for women, men, all. So one of the things I love about your longevity center is that you have circadian lighting. Now, this is such an easy adaptation, but something that basically no one is doing. And it's like, it needs to be done. The primary Zeitgeber, primary factor to control the circadian rhythm is light. Basically, light exposure in the evening is going to lead to melatonin suppression. Even just 1 hour of bright light.
Is that the more blue light exposure, right? From the screens and
blue light, but also regular ceiling
light.
They emit blue light as well. It's not as intense, but it's still enough to suppress melatonin. So much so that 1 hour of bright light before bed suppress melatonin by 58%. Now, in order to create a circadian sleep sanctuary, an absolute fundamental is to have warm blue light free lights. And it's not a hard task. It blows my mind that other people are not doing this. You're doing it, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's something that hospitality should also follow suit. You're a leader in this industry.
Thank you.
But it's something that we can adapt at home as well. And I think that's really helpful to know because, you're not always going to be able to go to a retreat center or a hotel in order to get a good night's sleep. And so to understand that one of the easiest ways that you can create a sleep sanctuary, a circadian aligned sleep sanctuary, is simply have circadian lighting. Blue light free lights, use red night lights, warm lights in the evening. Super easy.
This is very important for the sleep sanctuary. I love the term sleep sanctuary.
Circadian sleep sanctuary.
Circadian sleep sanctuary. Love it. So how about room temperature? You mentioned lighting. What's circadian lighting? What about the room temperature and then the kind of perfect environment for sleep?
Okay, so temperature is our next primary Zeitgeber, next primary factor to control the circadian rhythm. Essentially, in order to produce melatonin, our key sleepiness hormone, we need to have a cool core body temperature. Now, in your circadian sleep sanctuary, this means that the ideal temperature, if you're using aircon, is 18 degrees, which is super, super cool. And a lot of people will think that's too cold, but actually that's what's been found in clinical research to align with optimal sleep. Now, you can also ensure that your bedding is supportive of you staying at a cool core body temperature. And so natural fibers like cotton, bamboo, linen, in a 200 to 400 thread count specifically, this has been found to correlate with optimal sleep. Why? Because it assists with thermoregulation, which is essentially when you are sweating through the night, these fabrics help absorb that body heat and help it dissipate, which means that you stay cool instead of overheating, right? So light, temperature, absolutely critical when you are creating a circadian sleep sanctuary, and definitely what you should look for when you are staying at a hotel or a retreat, because getting your best night's sleep shouldn't just be a nice to have. As you and I are very, very aware, it needs to be a fundamental.
Fundamental, right? And then
Yeah.
talking about now of the whole scape of multisensory,
Yes.
it's like, how does the sound affect
Yeah.
us? And well, is there something around that?
Yeah. So a lot of people find that they sleep better when it's raining or when they're next to the ocean. I personally,
Sounds of water.
yes, yes. I personally love my rain sounds and love when I am sleeping near the beach. Now, what happens is the sounds of white noise, ocean, and rain, this creates a focal point for the brain, which helps masks background noise. That's one reason it helps. Another reason it helps is it helps synchronize the brain waves into a slower, more rhythmic pattern, right? Now, when you are moving into a slower, more rhythmic pattern, this helps you drop from a very busy alpha and beta brainwave into a theta state. Now, theta is the same state that we get into through meditation, and white noise can encourage us and allow us to move easier into that state, which is more conducive with falling asleep, staying asleep, and waking up more refreshed because you've had deeper sleep. Now, there's research which has found you can fall asleep 42% faster simply by having white noise. And so when you are looking at creating a circadian sleep sanctuary, ensuring that you have white noise embedded into that sleep sanctuary, absolutely essential. And if you can, another multi-sensory factor is scent. We all know that lavender is beneficial, but how many of us are ensuring lavender is in the room? Now, lavender helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us feel calm. So much so that there's been research which has found when you are taking a lavender supplement, your anxiety levels can drop by 45% just by taking this lavender oil supplement. And this specific paper compared the impact of lavender versus benzodiazepine, your pharmaceutical sleeping pill. And they found that the pharmaceutical sleeping pill reduced anxiety by 46%, lavender 45%.
Wow, it's so potent. So you mentioned
Absolutely.
supplement. Are there any stacks there, or shall I ask you this? We're gonna do rate 1 to 10.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, and you're gonna just tell me a number from
Yes.
1 to 10. Magnesium glycinate,
10.
HTP5,
5.
melatonin.
1.
Okay, we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
that. Apigenin,
7.
L-theanine,
8.
ashwagandha,
8.
GABA.
7.
Wow. Why did you say melatonin was so low? Because some people think like that's the natural occurring substance, neurotransmitter that we need for the sleep,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and it is. And it's great when the body produces it naturally. But in a synthetic form, there are so many problems. Okay, so essentially, being a synthetic form, the liver doesn't detoxify it after ingestion completely, right? And so what you'll find is even the next day after having melatonin, you're very, very likely to be more tired, your brain won't be as sharp. Now, it discounts the qualities of sleep that we rely on sleep to feel energetic, to feel mentally sharp. And so when you have melatonin, it compromises that. Long term, there is research which has found it can compromise our hormone function and compromise the impact of our natural melatonin production. And so you become reliant on this. And so think about that impact of being more mentally foggy and less energetic. That becomes your baseline. That becomes your norm.
So it does impact the whole ecosystem.
Yes, it does.
In general, what happens as we age? Does this decreases the production of melatonin?
It does. It does. So after the age of 30, melatonin declines by 0.5 to 1%. Now, this is why in Australia there are regulations that melatonin will only be prescribed by a doctor for those over 55 because their levels of melatonin have declined significantly. But let's just say you're not over 55 and you've heard that melatonin is really good and your best friend's like, yeah, I take melatonin every night. It's great. I get to sleep like a baby, all of this, right? And so you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to go on Amazon and, oh, yeah, there's this US, they're happy to, this US supplier, they're happy to ship it here. Okay, so in the USA, melatonin is not considered a supplement as it is pharmaceutical medication. So in the US, it's considered a dietary supplement. So it's not regulated. That's why you can buy it off the shelf. That's why you can buy it online. However, in not being regulated, this comes with a host of problems that you don't actually know what you're consuming. You might be consuming what it says on the label, but also it might not because there's no regulations around it. And so much so that there was a study that found out of 25 melatonin supplements, 22 were inaccurate, so much so that they were up to 473 times more than what they had on the label. There was
473.
I kid you not. There was difference in the same bottle. And so melatonin pill versus melatonin pill, different. And there was difference in melatonin bottle from brand X and melatonin bottle 2 from brand X, right? So a lot of people say to me, they say, sometimes I take melatonin and it works and sometimes I don't.
And they usually take it when they suffer from jet lag. I think that's an easy fix, right? But what else can we do in order to compensate that, circadian dysrhythmia when we are like traveling 10 hours in a different time zone?
Yeah.
What happens? How we recover within that 10 hours difference? And what else can we do to not take the supplements like melatonin?
Okay, so I will say though, in the cases of jet lag, when you are literally flying over multiple time zones, this is what has been indicated for safety for melatonin use. But for long-term ongoing use, it should not be your go-to sleep supplement, right? And in terms of what else you can do for jet lag, bringing it back to what we shared about creating a sleep sanctuary, that's super helpful when you get to your new environment, creating that sleep sanctuary, unless you're, of course, at the longevity center and it's already provided for you. But in terms of what you can proactively do, the best thing I can recommend is as soon as you board your plane, change your clocks to your final destination and start operating as you would at your final destination. Let's just say you boarded the flight at 10 p.m., but in your final destination, it's 7 a.m. when you should be getting up. You should try and delay your sleep as much as you can. Why? Because if you go, say you have a full 8 hours sleep and then you land and it's 2 p.m. at your destination, you are not going to have the need to get to sleep that full 8 hours again that night, right? It's going to completely throw up your cycle. And so rather you want to operate as you would at your destination. If you usually have a coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning, like many of us do, or a tea, like me, then regardless of what time it was at your prior destination, you should have your coffee at 7 o'clock. Usually have breakfast at 8, have your breakfast at 8 o'clock.
So does that mean that we kind of adapt to the new time zone, maybe even a day ahead, that will compensate and it would speed up recovery for then 10 days? Is this like a structure of how fast do we recover when we travel in the new destination? For example, 10-hour difference.
Sure. So in terms of our complete alignment, it takes 1 day per hour time zone shift.
So for 10-hour difference, time zone take 10 days.
10 days for your body to fully adapt.
Yeah.
Right? I definitely do recommend, if you are going forward in time, then start doing everything a bit later. Now, when I say everything, now really pay attention to your sleep time, shift that back 20 minutes, shift your wake time back 20 minutes. This is, of course, if you can adapt your schedule. Not everyone can, but if you can. Your eating, shift that back about 20 minutes. Your exercise, shift that back about 20 minutes. Everything becomes a bit later. And you ideally want to do that for 2 to 3 days before you've actually jumped on the plane. Then as soon as you jump on the plane, switch your clocks. Then you arrive at your destination and honor the principles of your circadian rhythm. Now, if it is night where you have landed, to de-stimulate the central nervous system and to help align your circadian rhythm, light, temperature, eating, exercise. Those are the 4 that you can modify, right? If you're trying to calm down, you're trying to encourage sleep, you would reduce exposure to bright light, decrease temperature, you would avoid eating in the last 3 hours before bed, and you would definitely avoid caffeine 8 hours before bed, right?
It's fascinating what sleep does, and it's getting more and more popular, which is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of trends in longevity and wellness found that sleep is a foundation. We spend more than 40% of our lives sleeping, and that 40% alone impacts the rest of our lives so much, so that it becomes a luxury. So, and I see there's now the trend and the movement in this section that sleep is becoming like a sleep tourism retreat where people go just to sleep, which sounds funny.
So I've been supporting sleep retreats, and sometimes people say to me, "Sleep retreat. So do I just like sleep the whole time?" No. It's like a yoga retreat, but it's focused on sleep optimization. But yeah, there's been massive growth. Especially, there was a lot of research which came out in 2024. So Hilton found that the number 1 reason people are now traveling is for rest and recovery. Now,
so true meaning of a retreat, right?
Yes, the true meaning. In terms of sleep retreats specifically, Google searches for sleep retreats increased by 35% year on year, 2023 to 2024. 60% of guests are willing to pay extra, 10% extra, not just a little bit, but significantly more, if a hotel is offering sleep optimized facilities. Sleep tourism is a $13 billion industry. And the thing is that when you get your guests to sleep well, it doesn't just impact their sleep, but as we have shared, it will impact their mood, their energy, their digestion, their mental clarity. Everything is drawn back to sleep. And so if you want your guests to leave saying how good they feel, how invigorated, how energized, master their sleep first, and then it will be a natural consequence. You talk about energy. 70% of human growth hormone is produced in slow wave sleep. So that means that essentially 70% of how energetic we feel is directly linked back to our sleep. We mentioned mood. After just 1 night of insufficient sleep, as mentioned before, cortisol can increase by 37%, which is going to leave you in a state of anxiety and restlessness, right? Reverse that. You can ensure that your guests are waking feeling calm, centered, happy, energetic, vital. Master sleep, and it has a ripple effect. And this is why I love it so much. But also why hotels and the tourism industry need to understand that it's not just a nice to have, but it is a non-negotiable essential that is not only beneficial for guests, but also a massive opportunity for them to ensure that their guests leave saying, I have never felt better and I will always come back here because I have never felt better.
And there are ways that we can measure sleep? using some of the popular rings, variables that we can kind of see our REM cycles, deep sleep cycles. Does that support as well?
Yeah. So sleep tracking, I absolutely love sleep tracking. It's one of my 5 fundamentals. Okay, so why does sleep tracking really work? And it really is linked back to something called the positive bias. We all have an expectation and a want to see improvements in our lives. Everyone wants to think, yeah, I'm doing a good job, I'm on track, right? And by tracking your sleep, you therefore are mindful, hey, how am I performing in my sleep? What's my sleep score?
It becomes a game, like
right. And especially when you are metrics driven, and I know a lot of your community is, a lot of business owners are, because they're metrics driven in all other areas. How's my business performing? What's the KPIs? What's the targets? Like really specific percentages, right? And so it's even more important for that community and for those who are metrics driven to be tracking their sleep, because they will naturally want to see improvements, and they will naturally be, even if it's subconscious, be inclined to change their behavior to improve their sleep. There was research which found 68% of people will change their behavior when tracking their sleep. And I can pretty much assure you that 68% of those people would be improving it because they want to see the results. In terms of REM sleep, and features and what to actually track, because there is so much data, and data is great, but if you don't understand what you're looking for, this is like not having any data at all. So what you need to look for is, ideally you want to aim for 25% of your total sleep time in REM sleep, 20% of your total sleep time in slow wave sleep, and you want to ensure that you have sleep consistency. Now, that's really, really important to ensure that melatonin is produced optimally and essentially you're getting deep enough sleep. And sleep length, of course. Now, human population, majority of us need 7 to 9 hours, depending on your chronotype, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly. And so, if you're going to be tracking your sleep, really looking, what are the stats on my sleep length, REM sleep, slow wave sleep, and sleep consistency? Super, super important.
Those are some of the data sets that are really important. Maybe you think that the future of sleep masters will potentially be guided by an AI who understands the data better and understands your archetypes.
Yeah.
And what about the archetypes then? It's like, I know you've written this book that became really popular in over 10 countries, and you impacted so many people. I thought there was like an early bird and late bird, but there is also something in between. Can you share more about that?
Sure. So your chronotype, the chronotype is something that most people haven't heard of before, but everyone has heard the term morning lark and night owl. Now, the chronotype is just a more modernized version of that concept. So essentially, your circadian rhythm, your sleep-wake cycle, your melatonin, it naturally has a preference to rise at a particular time and to decline at a particular time. As a result of that, we naturally feel, some of us like to wake up early and go to bed early. That's me. Love mornings. Do not like evenings so much.
So what does that make you in the
That makes me
chronotype?
a lion.
Lion?
Yes.
You're a lioness.
I'm a lioness. But if you love the night and you come alive in the evening, and a lot of creatives, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders are in this space, and this is often why they struggle to get enough sleep, because they're in these beautiful flow states in the evening. But yeah, if you're somebody who likes to go to bed late and wake up late, you are a wolf. And if you are somebody who is just in the middle, but doesn't particularly need early nor late sleep, but you need lots of sleep, then you are a bear. The concept was not by me originally. It was by a great researcher, Dr. Michael Bruce. I will not take credit for his work. He really paved the way, and I'm so grateful for that. And yeah, it's been super valuable for a lot of people to learn this concept, because what it indicates is how many hours of sleep we need, which is an absolute essential that we need to understand, because it helps us know what time should I go to bed and what time should I get up.
And most of these things you're saying, they're imprinted in DNA. They're like,
Yeah.
It's epigenetics, how we sleep, and we can slightly shift towards to be more like creative, stay in the night, but also come back to that bear type, which is like somewhere in the middle, still gets enough sleep.
So let's just say that you are naturally a wolf, but you need to be a lion because you've got an early schedule and you've got work and you've got kids and you've got all of these things, right? Is it possible to shift into a earlier chronotype? Yes, because our chronotype will only dictate 10% of the biology will only dictate 10% of our chronotype. The other 90% is our environment.
90%.
And so 90%. And so
speaking of sleep sanctuary, circadian sleep sanctuary.
Correct. So you look, well, what does my bedroom look like? But also, do I have a good quality bedtime routine? Am I tracking my sleep? Am I optimizing chrononutrition?
Chrononutrition is what and when you eat it.
Correct.
I'm just fascinated. There's so many things. Why don't we start with the sleep trends?
Yes.
Ranked 1 to 10. Is that okay?
Of course. Let's do it.
We're going to rapid this out. Consistent sleep schedule.
10.
Dark room, no screens, 1 hour before bed.
20 million.
Temperature control. Room chill pads.
Room 9. Chill pads. Beneficial, but not essential.
Mouth taping.
Mouth taping emerging to be very effective for a lot of people. So I would have to rank that as an 8.
Whoa. Okay. Weighted blanket.
5.
Sleep tracking or a Whoop.
Sleep tracking. 6.
Red light, low lux lamps.
10.
Whoa.
You're sharing all my favorites.
Sound therapy, binaural beats. Biophilia, white noises.
6.
Blue blocking glasses.
10. I like them because they're transportable.
Okay.
I travel a lot, so they're my go-to.
Caffeine cutoff before noon.
3. Now, a lot of people are going to really enjoy hearing that, because before noon is ideal, but caffeine's half-life is 8 hours, and so you can, if necessary, push that until 1 or 2 o'clock. But it also depends on your caffeine sensitivity. So, yeah.
How about sleep tourism, recovery retreats?
10.
Amazing, yeah. So what do you think? What is the next frontier for the sleep science, and especially for entrepreneurs? You mentioned the grinders quite a lot for high performers and achievers. How does that look like?
Sleep will become more personalized. We get more information the more technology advances with AI. Sleep tracking will become more sophisticated, and so we will get greater indication about how well are we sleeping, how is our HRV and our recovery, what can we do the next day. Also in terms of, a lot of these sleep trackers or trackers in general track the menstrual cycle, and remember that has a massive impact for women.
Estrogen, progesterone, hormones balance.
And so it's going to help a lot of women understand, oh, this is why I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, I really need to be extra careful about my caffeine this week because, hey, my sleep is already compromised. So sleep will become more personalized as we continue to advance with AI, and we'll be able to understand our sleep even better, which is excellent, which allows us to get ready control. Because if you don't know what something is, you can't control it. And sleep is a science. There are factors which allow us to thrive in sleep, and there are factors which compromise it. So if we are aware of these factors, then we have the power to take our sleep and our health and our longevity into our own hands.
And if there was like a piece of advice, a sleep kit with just kind of 3 key elements for our longevity club community members, what would you share with them?
What would I put in my 3 kit non-negotiables for your longevity club? I would definitely put blue light blocking glasses. 100% blue light blocking glasses. Because as much as we like to say that we won't be on our screens 1 hour before bed, especially when you are a founder, entrepreneur, I know it because I'm one, things happen in the evening sometimes. You get an email or, you're busy on a call. And so it's not always possible to completely be away from screens, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 would be really good quality magnesium glycinate or magnesium biglycinate. That's something that Andrew Huberman has in his sleep stack. And I personally am a massive fan of that sleep stack. It's got so much goodness. Magnesium glycinate, that is the primary mineral to relax the body. Now, especially for founders, stress levels are often high. When we are more stressed, the body uses more magnesium, right? And so this is why, another reason why, when we are stressed, we struggle to sleep. So that is for your longevity club or just anyone looking to optimize their sleep, having a really good quality magnesium needs to be in your sleep kit. And the third and final, what is it? This is the tricky one.
Because there's so many.
I know. All right, so I'm going to actually go really back to basics here. Have a sleep mask. Now, why do I like the sleep mask? Because it protects you from jumping on your phone. And from many conversations, that is often the last thing we're doing in the evening, right? And so when you have a sleep mask, it's pretty hard to use your phone. But it also ensures that you are blocking out light, which is, even a slither will actually stimulate your circadian rhythm. So yeah, those are my 3. Blue light blocking glasses, really good quality magnesium glycinate, and a good quality, ideally in a silk fabric because it's nice on the skin, eye mask.
Fantastic. So, and lastly, what's coming up for you next? I know you've been doing a lot of retreats, a lot of keynotes on top wellness and longevity and biohacking conferences. I know you're preparing some exciting retreats. I know you have your digital empire with courses, with so many things, the products, recommendations, and marketplace. So where can people find more about you and all your amazing work, and what's next for you?
Okay, so there is so much on the cards. I've got some really, really exciting retreats coming up, partnering with amazing partners like yourself. I'm super excited for our sleep optimized retreat next year, and we'll definitely be sharing more on socials when that is ready. I've got a ton of keynotes coming up on my hero keynote, which is sleep for peak performance. And yeah, building my digital empire with some very trusted partners. All of the content that we've shared today, dissecting that into a step-by-step guide that can be followed over, a 7-day period, 14-day period, 28 days, really ensuring that my community is supported every step of the way along their sleep optimization journey, from when they are coming to the retreat to leaving and then going home and continuing to implement their new sleep optimized behaviors. And in terms of where people can find me, honestly, I share the most on Instagram. And so that's a really good platform and I love it. I also share where I am, such as beautiful Bali. So yeah, Instagram's really good. Also LinkedIn or my website.
So Olivia Arezzolo, and you have this double Z
Yes.
in your last name, which represents a part of the sleep. I think you should just go like crazy on the Z in your branding. I love it.
Great.
Well, Olivia, thank you so much for coming to the Elementis Way. And thank you everybody for tuning in today. It has been a pleasure to host the Sleep Queen herself here. Stay tuned for more upcoming sleep retreats, for sleep optimization. Stay curious and then dream on.